Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Premodern Showdown Series 5, week number 2. I'm Michael Hoyp. I'm joined in the booth nice and early by none other than Flint Espil. How's it going, Flint?
Hi, everybody.
All
Going
right.
well.
Flint's here for match 1 and 2. He's switching it up this week. We're going to start things off with Lanny Huang up against Álvaro Galindo. So let's take a peek at what decks they have available. So again, if you have been following previous PSSs, we're doing things a little bit different for how we do our deck selection each week. Instead of the traditional ban system, we are doing a rotational deck where you basically can't play a deck until you've played all three of your decks. So last week we saw Lanny with the Growatog deck. He can't select that deck this week, and Álvaro had played the Mono Ren Panza. He's not able to pick those. So Lanny has the Parallax Replenish combo, and then his Burning Parfait, while Álvaro has the Mono Blue Stifle Knot and the Blue Red Tinker. I guess I'll make a quick note. In between our first week and second week, we had an exciting announcement in terms of the pre-modern ban list. Land tax was banned, so we had decided that we are going to continue on our series with the decks that were selected. And there are two players who are playing land tax. That would be Lanny and Richie. And it's one of their three decks, so we will see it every now and then. But we're going to continue our series as if it were not banned. But so that's exciting in the pre-modern world. But yeah, so but we're still going to have, I guess, one little last hurrah for Lanny and Rich. They get to pilot their land tax decks one more time. So, all right, Flint, what are you looking for in this matchup? I guess, are you going to make a prediction on what they're playing? I don't know if they tell you. I can't remember.
I don't think they told me. I'd love to see like a replenish versus welder matchup. That would be pretty sweet, I think. So that's my hope. But I haven't looked too much at the games and the schedule and who each of these players is going to play next week, which might inform the decision. But that's just the matchup that I want to see personally. What do
All
you
right.
think?
Well, let's jump down and see if that's what they're doing. So first up, we have Lanny is playing the Parallax Replenish deck. So we did see a list similar in the hands of Jared Doucette last week. The biggest difference, I think, is just that Lanny is playing Mox Diamond, which I don't always see in these lists. I know I've seen it in like previous versions where had more colors, where they're playing like Sapperling Burst and Pandemonium. I've seen Mox Diamond, but it's been a while since I've watched the Replenish combo with the Mox Diamonds. It's obviously not a drastic change, but other than that, I think it's the same strategy of you're going to dump enchantments in the graveyard and then cast Replenish. Is there anything that stands out for this list in your eyes?
I think I would just add that it looks like maybe he cut the careful studies and is running Mox Diamond instead. So
He does
that's the
still have two careful
substitution.
study, yeah,
Does he have two?
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Cool. Looks
but
good.
yep, and he will be up against the Blue Red Tinker list. So Flint is very happy, and I'm sure everybody else is. This could be really exciting. This Blue Red Tinker deck, I mean, I feel like I had seen it a long time ago, and it really never like went anywhere. And I've seen more people toying around with it, and I think this is something that like Álvaro, the space that Álvaro has been playing in for a while. And you had some experience with a list. I don't know if this is the exact list that you had played, but something a similar strategy. What is your takeaway from this list or the strategy in general, Flint?
It's a really fun deck to play. I don't know. I loved it back in the day. And let's see. I'm looking at his list. Does he have yeah, he's got the altar combo with Devour in it, right? So he can go that route, or he can grind things out, or he can kind of play a prison strategy. But Goblin Welder's just such a cool card. And I love kind of the interaction between Goblin Welder and Factor Fiction as well. Those are always fun. It's always fun to see piles when there's a Goblin Welder in play as well. So
Yep.
really fun deck to play. We'll see how Álvaro does with it.
All right, I'm ready to jump down the match. If you want to let our players know that they can begin.
It looks like Lanny kept 7. Álvaro is mulling to 5, and Álvaro's on the play just to kind of set the stage.
Okay, so what what things are we looking for the early part of the game from the blue red tinker list? Is there certain cards either in general or in this matchup that it really wants?
I mean, earlier on, like a really fast smokestack could be very good for him. Um, what else? Winter Orb's really good as well, just given how intensely mana hungry the replenish deck can be. It's a tap out deck, right? As it's trying to filter and set up the graveyard combo. So Rashad and Port can come into play to slow things down as well.
The other card I do believe he has at least a copy in the main deck is Sphere of Resistance. That
Is he running one?
I think so, and there's
Oh
usually
yeah,
more on the
yeah, he
board.
is. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, that would be great.
That would be a really key card that if he's able to find that early, that can make the sequences that Lanny's trying to do a lot more awkward. Looks like Álvaro's going to start off with a Mind Stone.
We might see an intuition end of turn here from Lanny. What do you think?
Yeah, a lot of the soul lands out of the combo deck allows him to kind of skip a turn as you're looking to end the game fast, so the damage to yourself doesn't usually be that impactful. And certainly in this matchup, uh, I wouldn't say Álvaro is very aggressive.
Tinkertown. What's he tinkering for here, do you think? The sphere or probably not a winter orb? Although that would still be good. Lanny can get around winter orb a little bit with cards like Frantic Search, but still a good card. Ooh, Dynamo. All right. Speed it up.
All right. So, what does that usually indicate if he's just using a Tinker to just get a couple extra mana? That he's just got a mana hungry hand? Because usually, I mean, like that doesn't seem like the most impactful Tinker, I guess.
That's a good question. I mean, he had access to 3 mana, so he could have, maybe he's got the smokestack in his hand, or he's got a processor, or he's got some of those higher casting cost artifacts, right?
Yeah. Well, Lanny shows a Seal Cleansing, and kind of interesting to me that he doesn't use it on the Thran Dynamo. I guess if someone's like willing to tinker a small mana rock for a bigger one, I would think that it would be something that you value pretty highly. I guess the way that Alvaro's deck works, like I mean, if he's presenting a threat, I guess you just take that out with Seal Cleansing. Maybe that's the thought process from Lanny.
Ooh, nasty masty. We do get to see the fun layer land trick, as chat points out, bouncing the gemstone back. I also noticed Maniac Morden said that we're mispronouncing Alvaro's name. Is it Alvaro? Is that how you say it? Definitely let us know. Want to make sure that we're pronouncing everyone's name correctly. He's probably too much of a nice guy to correct us.
All right, so Lanny's certainly developing his mana with all the ancient tombs. What's the other land that he has? Is the Adakar Waste, the ancient tomb, and is it the sky? Is that Sky Cloud Expanse?
Um, yes.
Okay, that's what it is. All right. I was to say, I'm like, I realized that he hadn't taken damage earlier, and I'm like, I just didn't recognize that art. I'm used to the Odyssey one, so.
So Alvaro is how I think we should be saying it then.
Álvaro,
Thank you,
okay.
Maniac Morden. All right. Ooh, what goes to hand here, Mike?
So we're intuitioning. So Uh, yeah, I would say the Opalescence because like on its own that doesn't really do much. Though, if you're facing it against a replenish, then it's almost better for it to be in the graveyard, right? Maybe not. I guess if it were, you wouldn't want Opalescence and the white one in the graveyard for replenish. But I guess if there's
Doesn't
Frantic
matter
Search
now.
here, I don't know if it matters either way. So yep, there's no
You're just gonna take
permission
them out.
for I had to like question myself every time. I should say his name, but Lanny goes up a game. So, uh, yeah, the combo deck kind of just did what it needed to without any resistance. Lanny's up a
Yep.
game. So let's jump to the decks and we can look at the sideboards to see if there is anything in store. So here, Álvaro has 3 chills, 1 Tormod's Crypt, 3 Pyroclasm, 2 Sphere of Resistance, 3 Defense Grid, and 3 Shattering Pulse. So I like the Sphere of Resistance for sure, and then a Tormod's Crypt. Those seem like. I don't know if I would bring it in Defense Grid. I don't know if
I don't.
that's.
I don't think that I would.
What are the underperformers that you'd be looking to take out? I mean, does because ensnaring bridge doesn't really do anything except for prevent like the awkward beatdown plan. Because like once they combo out, I guess it's not. I was thinking ensnaring bridge would be a creature, and it's not true because opalescence is only enchantments. So maybe that is a problematic card.
Could
But
be
but I
potentially.
mean,
Yeah.
but any seal cleansing would like take that out. Um,
Hmm. Yeah. I'm just looking at his list here. I'm not sure what's necessarily bad here.
maybe
Maybe you take out Karn.
yeah, take out Karn. I wonder if you ever cut on the welders since like the your I guess your artifacts do get destroyed, so it could be something that you would want.
You
Let's
could cut
take
Triskelion.
okay. Let's take a look at Lanny's list. There are 2 Swords of Plowshares, 2 Seal of Cleansing, 4 Abeyance, 3 Deep Analysis, 1 Mana Short, and 3 Exalted Angel. Certainly like the 2 Seal of Cleansing. Are
Yeah.
you interested in more copies of Swords to Plowshares?
I don't think so. I think that I would just take the swords out, honestly, and put the seal cleansings in.
Okay.
I don't know if I would change anything else in the deck,
Yeah, I'd
honestly.
say
I
that
mean,
seems like a pretty
you could try to
clean.
time walk. You could try to time walk with Abeyance, but I don't know what you would really want to take out for it.
Yeah, given that the deck lists are open, that like I don't think there's much that Lanny's afraid of. Like if there were maybe instances where there'd be some form of counter magic from Alvaro that maybe you would want to bring in Abeyance, but I think this is a matchup where you're just fine, just being your natural combo self. I think Lanny's favored. If I think basically Alvaro has to like put up resistance for Lanny to have a hard time. Otherwise, I think Lanny's favored.
Yeah. I'll let them know that they can start the next game whenever they're ready.
Okay. So players are still. Oh, they're resolving a mulligan. So Lanny's going back. I think Alvaro had. It looked like he had kept his hand, so he's going to be starting with 7. Yep, down to 6 is what Lanny's going to do. Does that change your opinion? Do you think having one less card? Do you think that's really impactful for the replenish deck? I mean,
To an extent, yeah, with cards like Frantic Search.
yeah,
But he does want to discard anyway. You can get into awkward spots where maybe you have an attunement or a Frantic Search, but maybe you have to wait a turn because you don't want to discard your replenish, even though you want to dig. It's always relevant. Um, so it's not great for Lanny, but I don't think it's a nail in the coffin by any means.
yeah. I will say there are times if you're playing around a card like Tormod's Crypt with the deck that you might not always just want to initially like dump your cards in the graveyard. You might want to like put somewhere it is like threatening. I guess then you would also have to replenish and then like go off later. So it is pretty difficult. But I guess with Seal Cleansing, then you might be able to kind of just pop a Seal Cleansing. But then it's better probably to leave, like, not cast a card like Frantic Search until you absolutely have to the last minute, because you can get rid of a Tormod's Crypt and then cast Frantic Search, discard the key enchantments, and then go off.
And we didn't talk about it, but Abeyance does shut off Tormod's Crypt. Again, I don't know if it's still worth it to board it in. Having not played the deck as much, but I'm sure if we had Anton or Manos or some of the more seasoned replenished players, they could certainly weigh in.
Yeah, I will say I think the norm is more often Orm's Chant, and I think the Abeyance is like the New York influence. I know Mike Flores is very high on the card Abeyance. So I don't know which is actually standard in the sideboard of the Parallax replenished list, but the
I
opportunity
think it's up
cost.
for debate.
Okay, the opportunity cost of in this situation of Abeyance is a lot less because it does draw a card. So, but in this match, Álvaro has the Sphere Resistance, so that is and a Goblin Welder. So even if a card like Seal of Cleansing comes down, Álvaro's able to get it back with a Goblin Welder.
Perfect. And Mike, I will be right back. Pardon me for a second.
All right, Álvaro's going to use his Ancient Tomb again. He's going to. Oh, wait, what did I miss? That the sphere is no longer on the table. Help me out, chat. I'm very confused that the. So he welded away the sphere? I guess if you're. That seems like a situation where you'd want that card. I guess if you're planning on casting some spells that maybe the Winter Orb in play might be helpful, but we do see Lanny using Ancient Tomb of his own, and he's putting down a face-down creature, which would be none other than Exalted Angel. So we didn't even talk about bringing this card in, so it could be that Lanny is either diversifying or he thinks that maybe the hate cards are a little bit more problematic that we initially thought. Like, we do see a Tormod's Crypt here, but that not something that Lanny is really bothered by, since he's going to be able to. I guess he won't be able to flip up this necessarily if he doesn't have another land because of Winter Orb, but we could see an interesting situation, and then also with Álvaro taking a lot of damage from the Ancient Tomb. If this Exalted Angel does get flipped up, it won't take that long to do some work. We do see some welding tricks, so we'll put the Tormod's Crypt in the graveyard and exchange it for a Chromatic Sphere, so we'll be able to churn through our deck. I think that Álvaro's looking for more land, which he does find a Rishadan Import. No, welding like the sphere away doesn't get you a card, but you still can activate it. But then, yeah, you'll have to replace it with another artifact in the future. Looks like Álvaro is getting a tinkering away the Winter Orb and now putting a Thran Dynamo again. So we've seen both games where Tinker has got a Thran Dynamo, which I don't know how often that is, but I would think usually you're going for a card that's a little bit more impactful than kind of setting up. But we have seen Álvaro with some mana issues this game, since it took him a while before he found his second land. He does resolve a Tangle Wire, which is a good disruption piece. And with the Welder and Winter Orb, that could be something that where he can really keep things in check. So it will be interesting to see, because even if there is, because now we're at the point where the mana's untapped, and if you're able to flip up this Exalted Angel, that yeah, you can have a Tangle Wire, and you can tap the lands as long as you're dealing 4 damage in the air. All right, so Lanny will take 2 more damage to flip up the Exalted Angel, then attack for 4, which will gain him back some of that life that he lost. So I guess with this welder, if you're able to put the Winter Orb in play, then Lanny's only able to untap 1 land, and then that would mean that he still has to tap the Exalted Angel, so it would keep that at bay for the time being. Oh yes, this turn, there were no attacks. So thank you, chat. So Álvaro's kind of in a tricky spot, but it's not a situation where he can't get out of. So we'll see if, because this lock is not like permanent. Obviously, the fading counters on the Tangle Wire will go away. So he has some time. Okay. So the tools that Álvaro has in his graveyard, there's a Chromatic Sphere, there's a Sphere of Resistance, there's a Winter Orb, there's a Tormod's Crypt. So a variety of different things. But is it enough right now, just as it stands, to kind of take it? Because he obviously needs to win the game. So I don't know what if he's looking to set up like an Altar of Dementia for Phyrexian Devourer combo, or if he's just looking to get, I guess if you have Thran Dynamo, Winter Orb, and Rishadan Port, and Tangle Wire, I don't know if you're in pretty good shape in that sense. Yeah, Chad, you talk about him removing the Exalted Angel. I don't know if that's even like his plan. Like a lot of the ways where this deck can just consistently keep things under lockdown because of Goblin Welder and Tangle Wire, in combination of stuff like with Winter Orb. Because yeah, if you just have Tangle Wires, then eventually they'll tick down, and they don't even necessarily tick down to the point because of the Welder, but it's a lot easier to keep someone under wraps because of Winter Orb. This is an interesting position because I don't know if Álvaro is like comfortable in the spot. Is this something where he's like feels like he's advantaged? Because I'm not experienced enough of the deck to say that like things are locked up, but it certainly he has a lot of options and a good amount of agency in terms of what Lanny does. Oh, so the Winter Orb was. It looked like he had thought about the Winter Orb, but now did he switch it out for a Sphere Resistance? Oh no, the other Tangle Wire went. Yeah, and he brought back Sphere. I was thinking it would be a Winter Orb, but I guess this prevents. I think the reason. Well, there's already 1 Tangle Wire in play, so he was going to have to tap 4 permanents. This guarantees that there's not another spell coming down. But the problem is if he gets Winter Orb, then it prevents him from untapping 2 the next turn. So he might be thinking ahead of, I'll take 4 damage in this spot from the Exalted Angel so that I have access to 2 mana and things won't get worse for me and I'll be able to deal with the current board state. Okay, so Álvaro is going to tap Sphere Resistance, Tanglewire, and then Arishan Import, so it's not too detrimental. And we'll see if he's able to be in a spot where he's more comfortable. So the Welder switches. I don't know if you want to switch the Thran Dynamo. I mean, you could if you for a Winter Orb. Then Lanny would untap 1 land and the Angel and have 3 permanents untapped, which would have to be tapped to the Tanglewire. All right, so he's going to use Thran Dynamo and Ancient Tomb to make another Thran Dynamo, and then use that Thran Dynamo and a mana that was left over to make a third Thran Dynamo. So the Sphere Resistance is gone, but with Lanny not having any mana, I say he doesn't have any mana, but we see a Frantic Search. So this is an interesting interaction that because he was able to untap an Ancient Tomb, so untaps 1 land, there's a Tanglewire on the stack. He's able to then tap his mana for mana and let the Tanglewire resolve, and then he still has 3 floating mana, and he can cast Frantic Search and then untap 3 lands. So it's a way to still go under the Tanglewire and then have access to mana. So it looks like he discarded Opalescence, and I'm not sure the other card if it's I think it's another Exalted Angel. So Lanny has 5 mana right now. Oh no, 5 cards in hand. That's not the mana float. So I'm confused why the lands aren't untapped. Did he not do the sequence that I talked about? Either way, he attacked with the Exalted Angel, puts Álvaro down to 2 life, so that Ancient Tomb is not very valuable. We'll choose not to untap that one with the Winter Orb, and instead untap the Rishon Import. Yeah, but what you could... Oh, okay, so he was tapping him so that the Angel would be able to attack. That's the reason why. Okay. I was thinking that if you wanted the mana, you're able to... You could...
What did I miss?
We've had some... Álvaro's welded a bit. He's switched out Sphere Resistance and put... One turn he had a Sphere, and then Lanny didn't do anything but attacked. And then Álvaro tried to switch it to the point where a Tanglewire was going to tap down all the permanents because there was a Winter Orb in play. But Lanny had a Frantic Search that really changed the math there.
And I see an Exalted Angel.
Yep, that came down early and it got flipped up pretty quick. So, I mean, that was not a strategy that we thought was coming in from the sideboard for Lanny, but it seems to be doing a lot of work right here. Mishra's Helix is something that Álvaro's added. So very good at locking things down, but the problem is we got a Tanglewire on just on 1, right? And with a Mox Diamond, can't... We'll need to get another another Tanglewire, I think, in play for Álvaro, right? Because if there's just one, then
Yeah,
you just tap the Mox Diamond. Well, you could just.
there's two counters on the wire.
I think there's just one. Maybe there's two.
It looks like a two, but that's
Okay.
still not enough
Okay.
because he can just untap a land, right?
Well, there is a Mishra's. The Mishra's Helix would be able to tap the
Looks like he
land.
already used it. Oh no, he's got a fresh one. He just welded in a fresh one.
Okay. So even if you're just welding out Tanglewire for Tanglewire, it's nice to refresh the counters. So. All right, we're untapped three permanents. So here is the situation if Lanny has a another frantic search, then he
It's
can
two
win, right?
frantic searches.
Does he?
Four counters, right? Oh no, hold on.
Yeah, but he
Because
would.
the Mox Diamond.
Oh
One,
no,
two, three. Yeah,
he
he
would.
needs
Okay,
two
yeah,
frantic
yep,
searches.
yep. Because yeah, if he would untap three lands,
Yeah,
so
exciting. Pardon my absence. Had an emergency call.
okay,
Everything is okay.
yeah. So Alvaro's doesn't have a lot of room to play, given that if the Exalted Angel comes in one more time, he's done for. But he's got a pretty good handle on the situation. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a hard lock because Lanny could be finding two frantic searches. So I don't know if that window closes.
Well, now he's got the Helix too, right?
But he'll always be able to untap one land, which could be an Ancient Tomb, and the Mox Diamond will untap. So he should have access to 3 mana in his upkeep.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then him tapping with Mistress Helix and then Tanglewire, yeah, it might be problematic.
Yeah, I think Lanny's out here would be two frantic searches, and he needs to get to a point where he could have his Mox Diamond play another soul land, frantic search, replenish.
Yeah, the other way is he could build up more permanence with like stuff like Mox Diamond. But Mox Diamond, oh, there aren't any other artifacts in Lanny's graveyard, correct? I was gonna say like Mox Diamond is a liability at the point if he ever gets to that because the welder can weld even your opponent's stuff. So you could switch like if there was a Mox Diamond in the graveyard, you could weld Mox Diamond for Mox Diamond, and then because you didn't discard a card, it would die.
Ooh, Álvaro's got a Tormod script in his graveyard too. So I think if Lanny doesn't have a swords here soon, it's going to get pretty ugly.
Yeah, and that was a card that we had talked that maybe you take out, but
Yeah,
I'll be interesting to see if Lanny thought that the Exalted Angel just diversifying on your attack plan is really beneficial, or if he feels that the disruption that Alvaro has is more than he wants to deal with. Because this could be a plan that maybe just in general you just bring in the Exalted Angels just for because I've seen that a lot of times in this format where when you have a very one dimensional deck, people have the tools to fight it. But then as soon as you bring in just something that they aren't expecting, like the Exalted Angel, it can do a lot of work. Because Exalted Angel, especially once it's flipped up, there are there really any good answers in Alvaro's list to deal with it? I don't think there are. Like Ensnaring Bridge is probably the only thing, and that's not even like the best answer. It still is in play.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's probably the bridge.
And I don't think that's a card that would be in Alvaro's deck in the sideboard games. All right, we've got a
Uh-oh.
Tinker, and so far we've seen Tinker for Thran Dynamo twice. Let's see if we get something that's maybe a little bit more exciting, a little more splashy.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
Okay, Alter Dementia, one half of the combo element of the deck, combined with Phyrexian Devourer, basically can mill your opponent at least to the point where they're decked out.
Someone's got a Devourer in hand.
Yeah, I think with the three Thran Dynamos, he'll probably have enough mana to cast it. Random guy was hoping that it was the Karn father was going to get tinkered out. He can blow up a Mox Diamond.
Oh, yes, he can. I've made that play before in Premodern.
I think I've had it done to me. Yeah, I guess we're talking about just killing the Mox Diamond, but I guess just making enough creatures to attack like bunch of Thran Dynamos is pretty good too.
Mm-hmm. Second Tinker.
Well, that one's going to
All
get the
right.
Devourer, and we just need to show enough converted mana cost to the point where it's higher than Lanny's deck count, and then we should have a game. So it definitely felt like things were kind of close for Álvaro, that Lanny might be able to sneak in those last points of damage, but the Goblin Welder, I think, really just kind of gave him enough options that he was able to keep it locked up.
Let's see if we see any sideboarded cards.
All right, we're doing well. I'll just let Álvaro do all the tracking. We'll just make note of the cards. There's a Torment Script, Sphere Resistance. So we've seen 2 copies of that, so definitely one of those has come in. A Welder. I don't mind the attitude of the show me. I always like getting more information.
Yeah, I agree. I think in this instance, it's perfectly acceptable to say, show me, because you want to see what's been decided in
Yep.
against you at the very least.
We do see Karn, and in the same mindset, I think Lanny should concede with the activation of the Drawer. I mean, there's no real reason to show him what you've sideboarded. So
All right, looks like we're going to speed it up a little bit.
I mean, also from Lanny's perspective, I guess there is a small chance that like all the high converted mana cost cards are in his hand, and that there aren't enough converted mana costs to mill Lanny out. But I'm gonna assume if Alvaro's making this play that he knows that it's a fail-safe way of winning. I
It's in a
mean,
lot of lands.
his deck looks pretty thin.
Ooh, there's a big fat smokestack.
Mind Stone, a Tangle Wire. So is that enough?
Is that going to be enough?
I mean, I'm trying to think because it really wasn't that many counters.
No.
Lanny's thumbing through the deck.
Counting the cards.
It seems very close. So
Yeah, this is great.
if this is all right, We're double counting. Okay. So
I don't think it was enough.
wow. Is it,
Ooh.
well, I mean, Lanny hasn't put the cards in the graveyard, right?
Yeah, he does. I think he's just saying that.
I guess maybe Alvaro's just conceding at that point. Because Lanny will be able to untap one land, a Mox Diamond, and an Exalted Angel. I think he only needs to tap two. Yeah, I guess
Wow.
I'm pretty sure by their body language that wasn't enough. That we're doing the counting. So I am going to mark the score for
Go ahead,
Lanny.
unmute.
Yep, and we will jump down to the
Hey,
players.
unmuting now. Unmuting now. Oh, so okay. That's what we thought. Oh my gosh. Ugh.
He had all the high cost
That was
cards. I like
crazy.
he like did it. I was gonna scoop, but then I was like, well, there's like 5 Tran Dynamos in play, and that's 20 mil.
Yes,
I'm
that's the
just
thing.
like I was just like
I had the Helix, I had the Fact of Fiction in my hand, so I was crossing my fingers that I was able to do it. But yeah, and at the same time, you didn't draw that many cards with the Frantic Searches
yeah.
and
I just didn't draw
attunement,
cards
so
at all like that game.
yep. So that's it.
Yeah, I was just
Wow,
thinking
good
more from
games.
like a strategic standpoint of let's see if I can get any information about how you sideboarded. But then just like so many lands got flipped up, I'm like, it's not very big. It's not as big as I thought it was going to be.
That's a small
Absolutely.
devour. That's got to be. I mean, I don't play a lot of decks that only have 43 cards left at that stage of the game, and this deck shouldn't. But that's how this one went. It was crazy.
So what was the final count of the Devourer versus the number of cards that you actually
40
had in the deck?
versus 43.
Okay, so it was very close. All right.
Wow.
Yeah, very close. Very,
It was
very
one.
close.
It was one non-land card away, effectively. I mean,
Oh.
I knew he had a lot of ones left, but yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So
Yeah. My other out was to just try to push damage with the Masticore, but I'm sure that he kept the Sword of Closures there. So that means that if I don't, I needed to have to come as soon as possible, because every turn I take out without comboing means that I won't be able to mill him. So I needed to do it as soon as I could, and I didn't draw any color land.
Yeah, that was crazy. The
I have two
the
tinkers in my
other,
hand.
I also kind of blew it when you helixed me for 1. I didn't float mana. I had a Frantic Search in my hand for the rest of the game. I didn't realize I needed to float mana there to get unlocked, basically.
Yep.
But I
Mhm.
think if I did that, you would have just grabbed a second wire. I'd have to like look at the tape, because then if you grabbed the second wire,
Yes.
then I might have been cooked. But you might have used wire that turn to enable the helix. I don't quite remember. It was something like that. Yeah, but that was a match that I did not expect either. Well, the first game was pretty prototypical. Like I opened up my hand and it was soul land, dual land, another land, plow, frantic search. No, that's 8 cards. Soul land, 3 lands, plow, frantic search, intuition, replenish. It was like literally an unbeatable hand. So that was awesome. And then the second game, getting a fast. I guess the angel wasn't that fast. I don't know. I had double frantic search in my opener, so that was like super good. Like double frantic search soul land. It's just, like the entire match just revolves around me getting soul lands and mox diamonds under his like tangle wires.
Yeah.
So Lanny, the Exalted Angel, is that something that you often bring in, or is it more of you felt like there was enough disruption from Álvaro that you needed to do something different?
I will only bring it in against you if you board out your removal. And if you keep your removal in, I'm not going to bring it in.
Okay.
Álvaro's 75 does not contain any Rushing River or any way to like remove a permanent from the board. So his only outs to Angel are Ensnaring Bridge and what you saw in that game, like the full Tangle Wire Mistress Helix lock, Tangle Wire Winter or Mistress Helix Goblin, like the 5-card lock or whatever. So he has 2 Tormod's crypts, and he can just crypt me for the rest of the game. So I boarded out 2
Yeah.
replenishes because I'm more likely to win with Exalted Angel than with replenish.
Okay.
And shout out to Ricky Thorson or Thursday Online. I've actually played a lot of replenish versus Blue Red Tinker because he plays online.
Okay.
And yeah, I basically just see him. We're always battling in the queues, and that's been a huge thing for me. And so that's yeah, he's the guy. If you're watching, Ricky, thank you.
Good way to get us some experience. Yeah. Overall, I guess chat was asking if like Karn was ever an option. I guess when you were going for the altar, did you think there was a chance that you didn't have enough, or was it just like you realized when it was too late?
No, I mean, I thought that I was going to be able to mill him. I didn't want to start counting cards because, yeah, I will do that. But at the same time, I was really afraid of Sword of Closures.
Okay.
If I use my and that's the thing, if I use my Tinker with the Creature Lacar, of course I can kill him at once. He was at 20, but I still didn't have that much mana to kill him. And if he Sword of Closures, I will just basically I wasn't able to one shot him.
Okay.
As far as I know. And the thing is that if I do that, I cannot go to the combo plan, because that means that I don't have Karn or any other creature available to mill. Karn hits for 5. So, yeah.
The other question is, so I think the first 2 Tinkers that you cast in the match were both getting Thran Dynamos. So, yeah. I mean, as powerful as Tinker is, that's not usually the card I think that you would normally get. Is that something you find yourself doing often, or was this kind of just you just didn't have access to the mana that you needed the Thran Dynamo?
I started with the Ancient Tomb, Chromatic Sphere, and the Welder.
The Dynamo was super good in game 2. It was huge for him.
Yes, but the thing is that I didn't draw any single land. No, I didn't draw any single colored land.
He had to weld. He had to weld
game.
his sphere like 3 times
Okay.
just to make enough colored mana to do stuff. That was like
exactly. So in a normal situation, I wouldn't usually do that, but in this case, I needed to lock him for a moment, and then try to, fingers crossed, draw a color land, a pain land, or something. Gems on mine, I don't know, whatever, a layer. But I didn't draw anything, so I had to do that just to push ahead in terms of mana. And I had to do this. I didn't have any more option. I actually, if I have color mana, I think my decision tree will be much easier for me. But I didn't have anything.
Yeah. It was an interesting week because I think the read for me was that Álvaro was definitely. I mean, I just said this on the podcast. I was like, Álvaro's going to crush Will with Dreadnought next week. So I also knew the matchup, and then got to sort of, figure out what the strategy was. And
and you have to say you're perfect for your last match. So I was sure that you were playing.
Exactly. So. And like Ricky, like in testing games with Ricky, like he turned, like he can like welder, tangle wire, like just lock you out like really, really fast. Severo's resistance is really good. Like there's the Tormod's Crypt thing was like basically huge. Like like I'm super glad that I have Exalted Angel in my deck at all, because if you don't have Angel and Álvaro has Infinity Crypts, I guess I'm just leaking too much. There's 2 more Replenish players. They're going to learn. They don't have Angel, though, so they don't have a choice. They just can't run Replenish into Álvaro's deck, because if you don't have access to your graveyard, like no tricks. Like, normally you would just be like, abeyance, you can't activate your Crypt, or like in response to the Crypt, so you'll cast Replenish, your opponent will Crypt, and then you can be like, okay, activate Entombment after Crypt is resolved and restock your graveyard. You can't do that if you can be like, okay, I'll weld my Crypt and then Crypt you again. So it makes it a lot more difficult. And then, of course, you're never going to have like 12 mana in consecutive turns to play like your one thing, then your next thing, then your next thing. So it ends up being like it's a really interesting like matchup where like I thought that first I thought I was like oh, I got this. And then I like played a couple games with Ricky, and then I was like, I don't got this. I was like, this is horrible. Like I can't do anything. And also like Ricky kept on getting like the one of crypt, and I was like just getting mad. I was just like, he's totally gonna pull that off on me. And then yeah, after that, our whole paradigm changed, where it was just kind of like, okay, crypts, like if your opponent just has 6 crypts in their deck, then just play a different game. So
yeah, you know that in the first game I had to mulligan to 5 in the beginning. In the first hand I had Dust Bowl and 1 lair, so it was like really awkward. The second hand was only artifacts, no lands.
yeah,
And the third hand only had 2 lands, and it was basically the first one but worse. So it
yeah,
was like,
you have
okay,
to, yeah,
I'm going
you definitely have to ramp. That's
so
something.
yeah, I was really lucky with the mulligans, to be honest. Like with the I if I take a look at my well, when I go to the combo, I just saw that all the lands were together. So I'm quite
Yeah,
happy.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Who can't keep getting away with this? I had a fight for that. That was I punted. I should have floated mana with Ancient Tomb. I need to go look at the VOD.
Yeah.
Like I'm at 20 life too. I was just like, but if I floated mana, it just goes to second main phase. I like cast Frantic Search. I untap 3 lands. Second main phase. Yeah, I don't know. It probably didn't matter. We'll see. I'll check the tape.
If you did that, I will probably just change the Tangle Wire for another one. So
Yeah,
you still
exactly.
yeah.
Although it would have been incredible if I double Frantic Search or something like that. I
Well,
mean, I didn't have it. Yeah.
In that case, yeah, that's
I think
gaming.
what was cool was that in the soft lock that he had, I actually had a couple outs, or I had probably one out. I had 1 Frantic Search in my hand. If I have 2 Frantic Search, I can Frantic Search, and then let the Tangle Wire resolve. Álvaro can't let the Tangle Wire resolve because I just tapped 3 lands. So then he'd have to Mishra's Helix to tap 3 lands. Then I respond by floating mana again, Frantic Search again, and tap 3 lands again, and then I can get the last points of damage in. But yeah, I was like pretty worried after he got all his permanents in play that like I was gonna lose the game with him at 2 life. So
Sure. Yeah, thought that might be the case, but yeah, an unfortunate series of events allowed you to narrowly escape. So
yeah, as a big fan of Devourer myself, I never want to experience what Álvaro went through. That's got to be that's the nightmare scenario.
All right, Flint, did you have any questions for our players?
Nope. I had to step out for a little bit. Players, sorry, so I missed part of the match, but I'll go back and watch it later.
You better. I was doing it for you, Flint.
Yeah,
God.
There's one point
Pressure's
where I
on.
got very confused. I think I was thinking, Lanny, that you were going to like cast Frantic Search your upkeep so you had more mana, and then you like tap the lands so that you could attack with Exalted Angel. And I'm like, wait, I'm so confused. Like, why doesn't he have like his mana? Yeah, so
Yeah. Why isn't he doing something cool?
No.
Yep. No, boarded out on my replenish. I would have been able to sneak it in on a random turn if he had a tapped Goblin Welder, but that just wasn't the plan. So
okay.
Yeah, but pretty. I mean, this like Tinker Prison deck is like super sweet. Highly recommend. Like I was initially like looking at it, I'm like, I'm not gonna get turn 2 Tangled Wire like a lot, am I? And I'm just like, it runs the full 8 soul lands. You know, and then like Soul Land Mindstone, like it just ramped like Soul Land Mindstone, Thrain Down, like it ramps like so fast.
Mm-hmm.
But you think you're safe, and it can actually get you like a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't know, Álvaro, I'm feeling like some Mox Diamonds in that list. Spruce it up a little bit.
No, actually, after I spent the list, I've been playing math lately, and I feel like I will in this tournament I will prefer to play math instead of blue red tinker because there are many non-basics right now. And actually, when in our second game, for a moment, I thought about
Just dust
start
bowling me
blowing
up. Yeah.
start bowling down, and then search for smokestack and go that route. In hindsight, I think that that should have been what I should have done, because I have just too many permanents. My only, I was really afraid that you were able to, like, I don't know, use your Mox Diamond, tap 2 lands or 1 land, and then play a steal and destroy my Winter Orb, and that's it.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, that could have happened eventually. That's what I was like
Exactly.
saving up for. And I think I commit my Mox Diamond to the board at a really, yeah, I need to look back at the tape, because the turn I played Mox Diamond, I think I literally just played it so that I could tap it to it to Tangle Wire. Like, I had in my head that like double Tangle Wire was going to be like the problem or something. So I ran out the Mox Diamond a lot earlier than I should have. When I could have just like held it and just like waited until it gave me like a deterministic win. Because I was holding a City of Traders too, so I could have like had a crazy turn where I can go Mox Diamond, City of Traders, and then like untap 5 mana
Exactly.
with my Frantic Search, and just kind of like go off from there, or try to go off from there. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, if you added like a Sphere of Resistance to the mix, then that line would have gotten cut off, and then all of a sudden, like Sphere's definitely good against any of my Mox lines. So there's definitely a balance.
Yeah, that's why I prefer to play mod right now, because the mod plays 4. So yeah.
Yeah. No, super solid.
And Wasteland is so good.
Yeah, Wasteland is pretty scary for replenish. You get some land light hands, and you're like in, you're scared. I think somebody actually no, somebody commented on the Facebook thread. They're just like the Dwarven Blast Miner, looking at all these replenish mana bases.
Yeah.
It's just like that's what I was worried about. I was worried that week 1 you'd run out. Like, I don't know how good the prison deck does against mid range against Mike Arnold's lineup. I assume that it's probably not that good, because he kind of has like a like, I don't know, he has permanence, I guess. What was your thought taking Ponza week 1 instead of saving it for me? I guess you didn't want to run it into my parfait list.
I mean, I was hoping that Mike will play anything but that rock build, because of Secret Force. Only because of that, because against regular rock I can fight in like regular way, but against that natural order, it's hard, because basically it's a reanimator in some ways. He just puts a big creature and that's it. So my hope was that he was playing something like Solution or the guy Ale. And then, he didn't play that, of course. So Blue-Red Tinker is not good against this card in general. So it's not that good against the guy Ale.
And if you can never keep a welder in play, that's also really hard, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Solution has Fire and Ice, I think, and Sword Closure. So I'm ultimately Mage. So it's difficult. So I didn't want to play that.
Yeah.
So my fingers crossed was that he was playing one of these decks, but he didn't. So yeah, that's it. And I have to say, Mono Blue Stifle Knot against Will anyway. So
yeah,
the choices were made.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think Will surprised me when he took red week 1, because not red, when he didn't pick red week 1. Because if he picked red week 1, then he would have had Stasis ready for you, which would have been more interesting, because I think Will's pretty confident. I mean, actually, with his Brain Freeze sideboard, I feel like his Stasis versus Dreadnought is like super good. And so as soon as he picked Stasis in week 1, then he's got 2 decks left in his lineup that aren't really that good into Dreadnought. So that definitely kind of locked things up. It threw me for a loop too, because I was just like, I mean, my Growthog would have like definitely lost to red. So I guess Will wanted to play red, either red or Fluctuator against Mike, and I guess we'll see that match. That's the next one, right?
Yep. It is the next one, and it's 5 o'clock, so we're gonna kick you guys out and get set up for that one. But good match, very good match, and good commentary. Congrats, Lanny.
It was very good.
I'll see you back at
a later match. Lanny will be jumping in, doing commentary. So, all right, we'll take a short break as we get our players set up.
Thanks, guys.
Right.
Bye-bye.
All right, so viewers, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break as we get our players set up for our round number 2 of our week 2. We will be right back.